Hi, I'm Jordan McDonald, staff writer with CAEO Media and Research, and today I'm joined by Mark Gorak, Director of the Cyber Academic Engagement Office and Principal Director for Resources and Analysis at the DOD. Mark, thank you again for coming back onto the program.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Mark, the Cyber Academic Engagement Office has maybe been around for about a year now. It's doing some excellent work, but I wanted to ask, since it started in, I believe, August 2024, how has the office grown and what progress have we seen come out of it?
Well, Jordan, again, thanks for having me and giving me the opportunity to talk about the CAEO. The CAEO, again, was stood up under the NDAA from FY24. And like all authorization acts, it gives us a directive to stand up the office. It gives us authorities, but it didn't give us resources. So the first step I had is to scrounge up some resources to be able to hire, and I hired Diba Hadi as my principal director. So she's the one who runs daily ops. And I've kind of given her the mission to establish the office. So what does that mean to establish an office in the Department of Defense? It means the first thing we have to determine is, what are we supposed to do? Besides what the NDAA says to do, how do we make that happen within the department? So the first thing you write is a charter to kind of lay out that plan of how you're going to execute this office. And then there's a DOD instruction, so it's called a DODI, that we have to make to be able to tell the other components what they expect them to do to help us establish the office. For example, we tell the components that they have to work with us and report to us on their academic engagements. The other thing we're doing past year is we're meeting with all of our organizations that we know of who are working in this space. So the NDAA specifically highlighted 5 different entities, and we've met with all of them, and we're actually changing the focus. So for instance, in our academic outreach with schools, in the past, the schools kind of determined the requirements for research and for capacity building. Now we're turning that around and saying, no, the department will determine that, and we'll put that out to the academic community, and then we're going to ask them for what they deliver, what capability are they delivering to the department. The other thing that we've done is we've established a mission and vision, and to simplify what my belief of the actual mission is to inspire the next generation of cyber talent. That's a very overall encompassing objective to try to do, working with all the schools. But I think there are so many people out there in grade school and high school who really don't understand what the department or the federal government has to offer, nor do they understand this is a national challenge. Part of our job is to help the nation. Where goes DOD, so goes the nation. So we're trying to establish that interest, at least put that nugget into youth of today to say, hey, this is a potential career path. Stay in STEM, stay in math, keep your nose clean, right? And you have opportunities then that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So that's the main gist of what we've been trying to get done. In addition, we sent out taskers to the entire department asking, tell us everything you're doing in cyber academic engagement. Well, our list got back of 300 plus different entities all doing cyber academic engagement. So it sounds like we're doing a lot, but with 2 people, very difficult to get after all of those and even meet with them all and find out specifically what they're doing. But my other vision, besides inspiring that next generation, is how do we work with academia and the department to make that more efficient? So I don't want to I want to coordinate and integrate. So if CyberCom has a hot research issue in cyber, I want to grab that requirement and I want to put out to all of our schools. We have over 480 schools, and say, hey, here's a department requirement we have. How can you help? And then work that interchange and then say, great, schools X, Y, and Z were selected. You work directly with CyberCom and delivering that capability. So that is our overall goal. That's easy to say. That's entirely difficult to do. So picture yourself as a school. Who do you contact in the Department of Defense to get research dollars? Everyone. from research and engineering to each of the services to the components. They're at the trough, and they have to know all this, which means they have to have a huge research capacity of people, instructor, or a huge number of people who actually research all of that and can actually fill out all those grants and do that. I want to make that simpler, where I can now just be that integrator, so it opens up to more schools. Because right now, the big schools are the ones who are getting most of the money because they have the staff to be able to apply for all the grants. Well, what about the junior colleges out there who have one professor doing this? How do they compete? I want to make that playing field a little bit more level. And how we go about doing that, we're still determining. But those are just some of the initiatives we've worked on in the past year.
Yeah, the last time we spoke, I think this ties into the larger DOD mission of trying to fill that gap of workforce talent. I know you mentioned that there's still about like 7,000 jobs that you're looking to fill.
So 20,000.
20,000.
7,000 mission critical.
Mission critical. Okay. Yeah. Help me understand why the office is so important in reaching that goal of filling those gaps and getting that cyber talent fresh out of college, fresh out of wherever they're coming from, getting them while they're young.
Yeah, so two parts to this. I think this is one of the reasons why I also love my job, is because I not only own the cyber functional community for the department, but now with this new title and owning the academic engagement side and inspiring that talent. So I look at the Cyber Academic Engagement Office as generating talent. And then I look at my Workforce Innovation Directorate of then utilizing that talent, right? Recruiting that talent, training that talent, developing that talent, and then retaining that talent. So I think the two go really well together. Now, there is some overlap because within our academic engagement, we have current employees in cyber who also go on and get scholarships. And so that's a little bit of an overlap, for example. But the two are tied together perfectly, and they have to work very closely together because I want the Workforce Innovation Directorate to determine the requirements of what we need. So like we just said, we're short over 20,000, but 7,000 critical. So if I'm giving out scholarships, I should be giving scholarships to those who are studying in those mission critical areas, not just in general, but that's put the requirement out there that we actually truly need where we have the greatest need today. And that's how the workforce can influence the academia. And again, have the department set the requirements and not just have each of the schools say, yeah, I'm majoring in cyber or data science and you get a scholarship. So let's have the department determine those requirements and those needs. And it even goes further. I have 480 schools out there right now under the National Centers of Academic Excellence for Cyber. Every single state but one we have. So it's also regionalized. I need talent in specific areas, like Augusta, Georgia, right, for help our Army Cyber. So why won't I be incentivizing schools near there at a higher rate than other schools? That's the requirement generation I think that I owe from the WID perspective, Workforce Innovation Director perspective, to the CAEO perspective to execute.
Mm-hmm. And I understand that as you're looking for cyber talent, you're looking for specific cyber talent. You want them to have certain skills. I know at the start of the year, you mentioned that one of your big goals for the year was trying to branch out into a skills-based assessment of cyber talent. How has that gone? How does that tie into your general 2025 goals for the office?
So before I go skills-based hiring, let me talk about the Defense Cyber Workforce Framework, because this is key. The other thing we have done this year is we're changing the paradigm of the requirements for our National Centers of Academic Excellence in Cyber to be focused on specific work roles from the DCWF. That determines the knowledge. Each work role is the knowledge, skills, abilities, and tasks required to do a job. That's like a resume builder right there. If you're going to graduate from school in a cyber degree, because cyber is vague, but you know this work role, exploitation analyst, and now you've studied based on those case sets, and now your education filled those case sets, you're almost a shoo-in then to go into a job because you've identified all the requirements for that job. And that's the way we influence talent generation also, is we give them the requirements we need. And then the academic system can train to those standards and educate to those standards, and then we can bring them in. Having said that, we don't hire a lot of people right out of school. And one of the reasons is we don't have enough entry-level positions. But in addition, I talk to a lot of graduates who say, I can't get a job in the federal government. And I'm like, okay, well, what's on your resume? Oh, I went to school. I'm like, that's not good enough. So we have all these other programs out there for exponential or experiential learning, where how many cyber competitions have you participated in? What senior project did you do? What did you actually deliver as part of your internship? If you don't have all of those other experiential learning opportunities, which we have to provide, but you have to take them up on it, then you're not going to be able to have the experience or the qualification to get in. They're not going to look at that resume. So now moving on to skills-based hiring. We've already put out from the workforce directive side, you can't hire today based in cyber, based specifically on education, experience, or certifications. So your pedigree. Well, if you can't hire based on any of those directly, then how are you hiring? So I have to have an alternative system. We will do skills-based hiring this year. When I talk to you next year, I'm going to say we did it. Okay, I'm going to hire at least one person with what we're working on, one work role right now. It happens to be cybersecurity. And we've already had our first pilot, and we've proved success that it does distinguish between qualified and non-qualified. That's the first step. Almost too much so, because almost 90% of the pilot population were not qualified.
Wow.
So at least we could determine that. That's a start.
Mm-hmm.
Our second pilot we're going to run right now. And by the way, when I say skills-based hiring, just to be very clear, because people think of this as different terms, I am talking about going to a cyber range, which is a hands-on keyboard where you're actually doing the requirements required by that work role. I am not talking about a self-assessment test. So right now we have two instruments. One, the first one to see if you're initially qualified, is a 40-minute assessment. We took a 3-hour assessment and wheeled it down to the specific task required in 40 minutes, just to see if you're in the ballpark of being qualified. If you pass that one, we then have almost a 4-hour assessment in a lab. And that judges a little bit more. We're looking at teamwork, we're looking at resiliency, a little more of those professional skills involved too, because that's very important to figure out through. And then we're looking at very specific skill sets. So that second phase is, if you pass that, which we had only like 2% of the population pass that, you're ready to do the job. So again, first phase, first pilot done. So far, great results, but we will get to skills-based hiring. We have to get to skills-based hiring. And then the issue is, how do you scale it? And how do you keep it updated? Because the test is going to change every time you take it. So with artificial intelligence-enabled scenarios, we're going to move through scenarios, so you'll never see the same scenarios twice. Keep the content refreshed. That all costs money to do. Mm-hmm. And then to scale it is going to cost more. So those are the things we're working through now.
And that's something we can expect within the next year.
I will get to skills-based hiring in the next 7 months. By the end of this calendar year.
Absolutely.
I'm going to hire at least one person and prove I can do it. Scaling it will probably take a couple years. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of legalese that I have to work through. But again, the environment we're in right now is perfect for this. I look at this challenging environment we all say we're in, and how do I use that to my advantage? And I think this is one of those areas where the environment is ripe for opportunity to make radical change like this and make this happen. So I think we're in a good spot.
Mm-hmm. The office is in a very unique position where it engages not only the DOD at large with getting people from all walks of life to get engaged with the department, but the commercial sector and academic sector. Could you help me understand how the CAEO, continues to engage with I guess, all facets of society to bring in cyber talent? And what initiatives are you, I guess, pursuing to bring in, universities and industry partners into the fold?
Yeah, so that's a great point, because when we look at our total force, we are a total force of academics, industry, military, civilians within the department. And I look at it as a partnership. So if we're not training together, if we're not educating together, then how are we going to work together?
Yeah.
So it is a team effort. I don't look at it as competition at all. I look at it as we're on the same team. So that also applies to our academic side. So first of all, specifically on the academic side, we have to do two things. We have to expand our current 480 schools, but we also have to reach areas that we're not reaching today. We have few programs at the middle school level. We have few programs at the high school level. We need to greatly expand those programs, because that's where the youth of today are making their decision on career paths. And they're making decisions on what courses they take, if they stay into math or STEM, or if they go on to the arts, which is still great. But we have to motivate those kids and give them that pathway forward. Then we're also working with, in at least two states right now, Virginia and Minnesota actually, they have coalitions established with academia and industry to bring together faster training, faster curriculum, incorporating the latest, the industry is bringing the latest injects that are out there and bringing them into the curriculum. So, and also through camps and weekend activities that we can partner together, because we can't afford to train every single, American child out there. We need industry to help us with this. And then we also have all of our partners who are helping us with, hackathons and cyber challenges. Tons of those events are going on that not sponsored by us, sponsored by industry. Mm-hmm. And we need to leverage those. We also have lots of partners out there, from nonprofits to actual industry, who are taking on certain populations and helping us, whether they're transitioning military and they're offering cyber skills to train them, whether it's military spouses, or whether it's just underserved communities. And how do we get those applicants into these programs to be able to learn what cyber even is? Those are all critical engagements that I think we have to enhance. And it's basic communication and coordination, because a lot of these communities just don't know the opportunities exist. One of my dream goals, don't hold me to this year, but I think within 3 or 4 years, I'll have this down. I want a national high school level competition, cyber event at a national level. So it'll be regional finals, then national finals. And then the winning team will get a scholarship to the school of their choice for 4 years. Of course, one of the NCAA schools.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just think that what an incentive, right? To actually sponsor that from the department and have a national-wide challenge, and then have a scholarship awarded to those students upon graduation. Why do I think it's a great idea? They've already proven they have the aptitude and attitude to do the job. They already have the knowledge. They just won a national competition in cyber. So that, to me, is the perfect population to make this happen. And then also, how many people to be able to reach through that don't make it to the nationals, but they still participated, right? And the exponential effects of that are huge, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I am really excited to see that. I know I won't hold it to you this year, but in the future, we will definitely have a conversation.
I'll keep you posted on how I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm hoping industry sponsors it, right? I mean, I'll put in for the scholarships, right, as a carrot at the end, but I want industry to come in and sponsor it, because most of these kids will not go in the federal government. Mm-hmm. Most of them will serve the nation, which we desperately need, this population. So I just think it's a win-win across the board. I just have to make those relationships and those connections and then put the program together.
Yeah, so absolutely.
It makes this job very exciting. I love the opportunities that we have. Everyone I talk to who's in this space, who's dealing with talent and talent management and inspiring that next generation, they're all so motivated. It's and passionate about it, and it's inspiring to me. So I love my job every day.
Fantastic. Well, Mark, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thanks, Jordan.
And looking forward to seeing how the office develops in 2025 and 26.
Great. Thanks, Jordan.
GovCast, along with CyberCast and HealthCast, is a production of GovCIO Media and Research. For more podcasts and to check out the other shows, head to govciomedia.com.